Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on my Serissa japonica. I repotted this tree in spring and I gave it a major kind of structural pruning that opened up a lot of holes in the canopy. And the tree is recovered now. It's starting to grow with a lot of vigor. So I'm going to do some more work on it today. Here is a look at the tree. So lately it's been getting flowers on the tips of some of these branches and I've been picking them off. I let this tree flower the one year. It was all covered in white flowers on the top. And all those growing tips just stopped. All the energy went into the flowers. So I'm going to try and, prune it today. Kind of removing all these tips that will grow flower buds. Bring it back so all the energy of the tree just goes into branch development. When I did the structural prune in spring, I removed a lot of branches and it opened up a lot of holes in the canopy. I did get a lot of good branch separation, but you can see it's already starting to fill in and becoming quite dense. There's still a bit of a hole here, but I'm sure that'll fill in by the end of summer. So today I want to prune up some of the vigorous branches. You can see some of them are really extending out. They're gaining a lot of vigor and the internodes are quite long between the leaves. So it needs a prune. And another thing I want to do, this is grown in the African Acacia style. And it's a flat top kind of tree. I'll have a slightly rounded shape to it. But the bottom usually follows the contour of the top. So it has a rounded top on it. And then the bottom of the foliage is also rounded underneath. And they call this the Pierneef Style. It's named after a South African painter who used to paint a lot of native African trees. So I'll show you a picture of the Pierneef Style and you'll see the curve on the top and the curve on the underside of the canopy. Over the years, I've been trying to get that curvature to the bottom of the canopy, and it was slowly coming. If you remove, branches here, you're not only removing them from the bottom of the canopy, but also from the shape of the canopy. And I can see this branch here, it's too low to get that curvature of the canopy underneath. So if I were to remove it, you can see it comes out from this branch and it kind of spreads out radially. And it's not too bad a branch. It does come out kind of directly out the front of the tree. It's a bit of an eye poker branch. My goal was to kind of grow it up into the canopy to get it higher and maybe keep the structure below. So I have two choices. I can totally prune that branch off, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I do have a lot of branches reaching forward. It would be kind of a big cut on the front of the tree, but I don't think it would be too bad a thing to do. It would certainly raise the canopy in the middle here. I think it kind of spoils that bottom curve to the foliage, having this branch down low here. So, do I want to prune it away is the question, or do I want to grow it up? It does kind of cross this branch behind it. It comes up and then it crosses it. And I think the last time I pruned it, I debated what to do in this area. And maybe today I'll make that final decision. If I take it away, the tree still looks fine. If I leave it, again, it's a bit of an eye poker branch. I have lots of branches above it. So my initial thought is to prune it away. It's kind of a big step, and I've been giving it a lot of thought. If I do prune it away, I'm not sure if I want to prune it flush or if I want to leave like a dead branch here, or prune it, back hard, and it'll probably generate new growth coming off of the prune branch. But like I said, it does cross this branch behind it, so I think I better prune it away totally. It's a big step, and it's one of those decisions that I've made my decision. So here I go, big cut coming up. It is gone. And you can see there's a bit of a scar here, or there will be, but I think it'll blend in quite nicely. So looking at the front of the tree, it still looks fine. It hasn't hurt the styling of the tree at all. And if anything, I think it's improved it, getting that lower canopy raised. Now I have another branch here that's kind of a bit low. So I'm looking at that, and I can certainly prune off this lowest branch, so I'll do that. So I'll come in here and prune this one off. It was hanging down a bit. Again, raising the canopy in the middle. And then it's still, a little low. But I think I'll prune up the top of the tree first, and then I'll have a look at the bottom again. I'll revisit the bottom of the canopy and see how it's doing. So the next step is to profile prune the top of the tree with the blue scissors. Getting rid of all these shoots sticking up, getting it to that compact rounded form. So here I go with that. Again, a big step, but it certainly keeps the tree in trim. Okay, so my overall height, I do want to keep some of this new growth that's come in. So I'm going to shear it off flat on the top first, so I can see how far down to take it. So I keep some nice green leaves up top. Whew, there's that smell, that Serissa smell. So there's where I've got it, and the question is, can I take it back further? If I do, it can't be too much, or I'll get into just woody branches. So maybe just, another little bit off the top. Okay, so that's got the height of my tree, the top of the rounded shape pruned. That's as far back as I dare take it. And now I've got to round out all the sides. And again, with this flat top style, if I go to the side view, I've got to maintain it almost flat in the side view. If I round it too much, the foliage pad gets too thick in the front view because it's rounded down. So I think my next step is to profile prune the rounded shape, but keep it flat. So it'll just be like a 2D pruning, and then I can decide about any rounding off of that. So here I go. And you can always start, conservative, and then tighten it up as you stand back and look at the tree. So it'll be very flat in this view. And I want to keep the edges quite thin, so I don't want them, thick at the edges. It's got to taper away. And these blue scissors, because they have long blades, it's really nice for putting curves in canopies. You can see it flattening out on top. And you can't really make it too flat because there's many acacias growing that have pretty well absolute flat tops to them. There's all kinds of different styles if you look at pictures of acacias growing in the wild. You'll see rounded tops, flat tops, triangular tops, curved tops. It may depend on the species, but generally, we're going for a stereotypical tree here. Now, I'm standing back to look at the symmetry. I think I'm a little high on this side, but I'm just going to step back and have a look at that. Yeah, I'm a little rounded on this side. So I'll come in and prune it back a bit more. I've tried all kinds of styles of canopy on this, flatter, triangular, quite curved. I'm stepping back again, having a look at the canopy. I did pick out a bit of foliage underneath just to try and get that curve on the bottom of the canopy also. So I'm just doing some final checks on the profile. I think it's looking pretty good. Maybe a little more off here. And I think I'm still a little rounded here. I'll take a little more off. It's better. I'm a little thick here still. Maybe a little more off here. I think that's looking pretty good. I think it's very close. So there's kind of a view of the tree. So my next step on the tree is to look at each branch so I can wiggle it, see what's attached to that branch. And I want to flatten the branches out a bit and make sure they're not growing in to the other branches, so they're not meshing together. So there's some space between the branches. You can see this one's growing into the one beside it. So kind of defining the branches subtly so it doesn't just look like a big pruned dome on top. It has a bit of natural style to it. So that's my next step. So now I'm looking at these branches and you can see this one is growing a little wide, so I'm going to do a bit of pruning here. Pruning it back, giving a little space between the branches.
Also flattening the pads out. And you know, you can use the blue scissors for that too. You can kind of go in and flatten the branches out like that. And I'm using directional pruning. I'm just pruning back some of these tips, redirect the branches, take some of these old yellow leaves off, kind of thinning the pads out a bit. I think that's good for that branch. It's looking good. One beside it. Same thing. I want to prune it back, giving space between the branches. You can see this one's growing over top of the other branch here, so I'll prune it back quite hard. Flatten these branches out. Thin them a bit. There's a branch on the inside that's kind of growing a funny direction. I'll remove that. It's kind of low too. Yeah, I think that's got that one pruned up. It's looking good. The next one. Now, one thing I should do before I get going too far is to look at the top view and just do a profile prune to get the oval shape of the canopy back in check. So I'll do that now. Okay, I'm looking down at the top view. I just noticed this one branch was sticking out of the profile too much. So I'm going to prune it back. This one's getting a little long up front here. Just kind of profile pruning it to an oval shape. And that keeps the canopy growing evenly, so one branch doesn't take off and it gets out of proportion. Kind of like profile pruning your roots. That it just, you know, gives balanced growth to the tree. It's looking better. I'm a little heavy back here still. The idea of this canopy is to grow it out slowly, not rapidly with long straight branches. You want, you know, to grow it slowly so the branches have movement, taper. It also keeps it fairly symmetrical, that, you know, the one side of the tree doesn't grow faster than the other side. It keeps it in check, so the tree looks balanced. I think that's pretty good for the getting the oval shape to the canopy. Maybe I could take a little more off the front here. It's a little long. Here's a look at the front of the tree now after profile pruning the canopy, and because I brought it in a little shorter, it's looking a little thick at the edges still. So I think I need to do a little more thinning. So here I go. That's looking pretty good. It's quite rounded. I could take a little more off the top maybe. I think I'm a little high. It's looking a little too rounded and not enough of a flat top. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to go back to branch pruning now. After pruning those front branches, you can see a little more definition to the branches. It's subtle, but it's there. And it also gives them, you know, better light, and they'll grow in nicely. So I'll keep working away all the way around the tree, pruning up all the branches, and then we'll come back and have a look at it. So you can see there's a bit of a hole in the canopy here. I don't want these branches growing back to fill the hole. I want the ones up top to come out. So there's a few branches kind of pointing back in towards the center of the tree here that I need to prune away. I stepped back and I was having a look at the tree, and I think I'm still a little, maybe slightly long here and thick. I'm just going to take it back a little further, thinning that tip out. Maybe this one too. Now I've got a few suckers growing up from the root system here that I want to prune back, so I will do that. Like that, and there's one out the back here also. And this happens a lot on Serissas. They grow shoots up from the roots, so you're constantly pruning them away. So there is the tree now. So I've made some progress today. I'm getting a more rounded shape on the bottom. The top's pruned back nice and compact. I think it's looking quite good. I've got my branch separated. So I think I've got the tree in good shape. I'll just do a little cleanup work and I'll give it some water and fertilizer. All right, here I go with the water, and there's a dilute amount of fertilizer in with the water. And I have this tree outside now. It's gotten used to the outdoors. It's growing well outside. Let's fly in now and have a look at the tree. Here's a view of the tree from the distance, and you can see the Pierneef Style developing, you know, the curved top and the curved underside to the foliage also. My Serissa is all pruned up. It's ready for the next phase of growth. Removing all those vigorous branches should help stop flower buds forming, so all the energy goes into branch development. And, you know, I just keep repeating this process, and we'll see what the tree turns into in the future. The tree is definitely getting larger, which is fine. I think, you know, 10 years from now it'll be even bigger. This pot may look too small for it by then. But I hope it still, you know, continues to improve. I think it will. It'll get its own character over the years and lots of cool features to look at on the tree. So that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.